Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Stone Church podcast. Hope you had a wonderful Christmas. Hope you stayed warm and a great new year. We are back to regular episodes now. I am Pastor Mark. I'm the youth pastor here at Stone Church. And today I'm joined by Mrs. Randi Bianchi,
Hello.
who is what to our church? You're a lot of things to our church.
Yes, church administrator is my official title. I like to say I do everything but preach.
Mm-hmm.
So financials and vendor relations, built the website, run the socials, so
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of stuff.
All kinds of stuff. And people will often see you on stage with a
Yes.
guitar in your hand.
Yes, I love to worship the Lord, and I like to do it with a mic so that people can hear me.
Yes, that's awesome. Okay, I know you're a big reader. Question for you. Is the mantra the book is better than the movie? Is that always true?
Usually, yes. I actually just finished a book where in my review I said this would have been much better as a movie, and I never say that. But
Really?
typically, yes. I think
Why'd you say it would be better as a movie?
because I think the author was trying too hard to write something deep instead of something true. I think if you try to be deep, it'll fall flat. But if you try to write something true, the depth will come through on its own. The book was like existential horror with a like big psychological realm, and I think that would have played out better on camera rather than
Yeah.
like them trying to force that feeling in the book.
Mm-hmm.
It just felt disjointed, but typically I think books are better than the movies.
Why
There's
do
just
why do you think that is? I feel like most people would agree.
yeah,
This is-
I'll take Harry Potter as an example. I don't know if that's controversial to
We'll have
talk
to
about
edit
Harry
this out.
Potter. um
It is one of the most popular book series
yeah,
in America.
it is the
And
second most best-selling book, second only to the Bible, I'm pretty sure.
really?
I'm almost positive. I don't know if that's
Oh my
changed, but that
goodness.
was true for sure when I was like in high school.
Wow.
Um and the movies are great adaptations of the book, but they leave out characters. They change like what character says certain lines, so it kind of changes like character development a lot.
Mm,
And then there's like all this political world building in the books that just you don't have time for in the movies.
that's true.
So, yeah, I think books are almost always better.
You get to spend a lot more time with the book.
Yeah,
It's not just confined to 3 hours at most,
right.
So I think that's also why people are so drawn into like trilogies and series, especially TV series, because it's like it's closer to a book in the fact that you get slower pace
Yeah,
and you
more
can
time with the characters.
yeah, you get the details and stuff. I was thinking about this, like I think this is not going to be anything profound. Like I'm sure people like many people have said this. But like obviously reading a book stimulates your imagination more because it's not giving you everything you need to think about. You have to do some effort on your part,
Right.
And I think that's healthy and good, and I think you don't get that from movies cuz it tells you like this is exactly what this looks like and sounds like
Yeah.
and everything. So you're just kind of like they're dragging you along, but I feel like in a book you really have to like you play a part in it.
Yeah.
You're invested more. So
I think there's also something to be said for um the human condition, the way that it's captured in books. You can't ever capture that in a movie or TV because typically you get inside of characters' heads in books. You know their thought process, you know
that's
their whole background, you
true.
know why they respond the way they do, you know their motivations. Whereas in TV, like you can learn some of these things, but you learn them in a much different way.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't really get into the mind of characters. I don't think it's even possible to replicate that in
Yeah.
television.
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, some shows will have like a monologue going,
Yeah.
in the person's head, but I think sometimes it kind of ruins it.
Yeah, I hate that.
God, who is
Hello.
that? Yeah. So, do you think that there's some people that just aren't readers, or do you think anyone can cook,
Anyone
but
can
only
cook.
the fearless can be great? No. Do you think anyone can read?
Yes, but no. So I have a silly little Bookstagram account. I post only about books on there, and I only follow people who post about books. So I've made a
Yeah.
lot of like online friends through that. And I think, well, gosh, this is a hard question. I think that some people like books that don't make them think. Like I think reading as escapism can go one of two ways.
Mm.
Either you want something mindless, which is when you read the silly little romances and the, you know, the TikTok trendy books, which there's nothing wrong with romance. I just don't personally get much out of it. And then there are people who read because they want to delve deeper into like the human mind. And so that's when you get into more of like reading Dostoevsky, the classics. I don't know, like I think that anyone can read, but I think that everybody reads on different levels.
Yeah.
And I think motivation for reading and yeah, I don't know. I think motivation for reading probably plays a lot into that as well.
Yeah, for sure. I try to have one of each at any given time.
Yeah.
Because like usually in the morning I'm more like I guess focused, and I'm able to like dive into something that's really gonna educate me. But at night I just want like something that I can just kind of read quickly and like
Yeah.
you know, kind of be immersed. I was the worst reader in elementary school, and it really like lowered my self-confidence because every class I'd go into would have a visible chart on the wall of who's been reading the most. And they would do it in some cute way, like they'd have hot air balloons with our names on it, and the more books you read, the higher your hot air balloon. And mine's like tipped over on the ground, like
I feel like that's so discouraging.
Mine's deflated. Yeah. Yeah, I know. So it was just like a visual representation to the whole class and it was always like the girls were on the top, except for this one kid named Derek. He loved to read, but
hope you're doing well, Derek.
Shout out Derek Swanson.
Can we name drop?
Yeah, 322 Mill Street. No. That's funny. So okay, so I know we talked a lot about reading and stuff. I know it's been like a big part of your life.
Yeah.
But like, how'd you? I don't know. Did you grow up in church? What's the story of Randi?
I think a lot of people think that I do, or that I did grow up in church. Like I've had people even just at Stone come up to me and they'll like tell me something and they'll be like, "Of course you grew up in the church, so you don't." And I'm like, "Wait a minute, why do you think that?"
Really? That's people's assumption?
I've had like 3 people say that to me.
No way.
Which is so strange. I think it's a blessing. But I didn't grow up in the church. I was born into an abusive home, and so I was adopted when I was about 9. So the biological parents, abandoned me. Well, I never knew my biological father. So I had 2 siblings, one older, one younger. They shared a dad, and then we all 3 shared a mom. It's kind of confusing. I usually like draw a map to like explain my family tree to people because it gets weirder. Like do you ever like talk to your friends in like middle school and you're talking about how crazy your families are and you're like, "Oh, well, my parents are divorced, so I have 2 Christmases and you know, my mom never remarried."
Sure.
I win because my biological mom is legally my sister.
Wait, what?
So I was adopted by my grandparents. So my biological mom
is legally your sister.
Legally my sister.
No way.
Isn't that weird? So that makes me like my own aunt or something. I don't know. But
you are your mother's sister.
I am my mother's sister.
That's wow, very interesting.
So yeah, fun fact about
all right.
me. So yes, grew up in an abusive home, and then, I never knew my biological father, and then all of like the boyfriends that my biological mom had were all abusive, and she was abusive, and so like bouncing from home to home, and eventually ended up with my grandparents, which they adopted all 3 of us when I was 9. And so at that point, like, the physical abuse stopped, obviously. The grandparents were not, at the time, I don't want to say that they weren't Christians, but we didn't go to church. So they bought me a Bible. I had a Bible. I didn't really read it. Like, I thought of it as a regular book, so I would try to read it, and I would start in Genesis.
Yeah.
And I think the furthest I got was like Leviticus or Numbers each time. And I was like, what are these books? This is like. And I also remember there was a verse. My mom had written Jeremiah 29:11 in the front of the Bible when she adopted me. But I didn't know exactly how to look up verses.
Yes, you're like, what is this?
So I think I'm finding it.
Who's Jeremiah?
Who's Jeremiah? I think that I found the verse. I'm like flipping through my Bible. I'm like, yes, this is it. And I start to read. And I don't think I did it right because it's like, I saw Satan fall like lightning. And I was like, "What is this book?" So then I would try to read it starting in
Yeah,
Genesis, and
you're
I'm
not in the
like,
right place.
"When do I get to the part where Satan falls?" And I'm, like,
Yeah.
thinking this is some, like, huge epic, which it is, but it
Yeah,
wasn't what I
you
thought it
jumped
was.
right to the climax of the story.
I did. So then flash forward to middle school, a friend of mine invited me to this, like, youth event, and it was
Mhm.
on the football field of a high school, and I went, my parents let me go, and while I was there, she, like they were playing worship music, and the "How He Loves Us," that song was on, and I was like, "Man, like, why am I getting emotional?" Like, I started to, like, tear up a little bit, and I'm asking my friend, her name's Maddie, shout out Maddie, she brought me to the Lord, we don't talk anymore, but I hope she's doing well. Um, she starts explaining the gospel to me, and right there on the football field, I gave my life to the Lord,
Wow.
and I remember still that song makes me emotional, How He Loves, it's so good.
Mhm.
But I remember the next day, you know, I'm in middle school, 7th grade, and I tell my friend Tegan, I'm like, "I got saved last night." And she's like, "From what?" Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, the human condition, like hell, I don't know. But then I, like, tried to explain the gospel to her, but I had just heard it for the first time last night, and so that failed. I don't really know what I said, but, anyway, at that point, I was like, "Mom, Dad, can we go to church?" I'm like, "It's the same church that the youth group was," and so we went. It was, like, September, and the first message was, like, about September 11th, you know, that
Oh, wow,
9/11
yeah.
message. Um, yeah, I remember that very vividly, and then we just started going to church every week after that. So, like, I knew that my parents they both grew up Catholic, and I knew that they walked away from the Catholic Church and met the Lord at some point. I don't fully know their testimonies.
Mhm.
So I knew that they knew the Lord and loved the Lord, but we just weren't going to church.
Mhm.
And so from that point, I kind of like God got used me to like bring my parents back to church, which I think is really cool because
Mm.
like I just liked going to church,
Yeah.
you know.
No, that's really cool.
Um, and so yeah, then at that point we were a regular church going family and served in the nursery and everything. I didn't really get into worship yet, but yeah, we were there like every Sunday. I was at youth group as much as I could and
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I'm trying to decide how much I want to say cuz like there's like both of my siblings I don't believe ever really knew the Lord cuz they kind of are both like walking completely different paths. Like it's weird. There's a lot of times I'm being like reflective in prayer and I'm like, Lord, why did you set me aside and give me this life? And I'm watching my siblings and like, they're not leading good lives. Like, you know, jail time and drugs and,
Mhm.
you know, having children and not married, you know, like having children with abusive people. And so, like, I don't know. It's something, it's probably like my biggest, like, question in my faith right now is like, God set me aside for a purpose. And so trying to figure out what that purpose is and to walk in it while also trying to figure it out at the same time. Because, like, I
Yeah.
don't want to waste, I'm going to cry. I don't want to
Yeah.
waste the time that the Lord gave me and waste the life that He so clearly set aside.
Mm.
And so I think my main prayer lately has been, Lord, let my life be an altar. Because altars are like, obviously, you think of altars like, oh, you go to the altar and you pray.
Mm.
But, like, there's 2 main aspects of altars that I, like, am talking about when I pray that, and the first is altars are a place of remembrance. So, like, all throughout the Old Testament, God's like, "Do not forget what I've done for you. Talk about it in your homes. Tell your children,
Mhm.
write it," you know? Like, "Don't forget what I've done for you, because when you forget, then you stray." And we
And one
see
of the
that
ways
over
they'd
and over.
remember is by building an altar.
Yes, so
Mhm.
they'll set down altars, and that's them remembering what the Lord has done.
Yeah.
But then the other thing is an altar is a place of sacrifice. So praying that is basically praying like, God, give me the strength to lay down the things that are not for me, even if I want them, even if my flesh wants them.
Yeah.
Give me the strength to lay them down at your feet and walk away from them because you set my life aside for your purpose.
Mhm.
So,
Do you
yeah.
ever feel like you have this responsibility now to make the most of the lot that you've been given, basically, because your siblings didn't get
Yes.
that same lot,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah, it's kind of twofold, cause like, there's the side of, like, "Oh, I'm responsible for the life that God set aside for me, and I
Mhm.
wanna steward it well, and I wanna make sure that I am worshiping Him with every action." But there's also, like, the other side of it is, like, I did go through, like, physical sexual abuse, and so just because the Lord saved me from it doesn't mean I need to, like, forget it, like, if that makes sense? There are people who are gonna go through these things, especially in youth ministry, and this is the main reason why I started doing youth ministry.
Mhm.
There's gonna be people that are facing abuse of some kind, and they don't have anyone to talk to, and that's why I'm so open about, like, "Yeah, I did go through that." I don't hide it, I'm not, like, shy about it. It doesn't really make me, like, emotional.
Mhm.
I'm just like,
It happened.
"It happened, this happened, and the Lord protected me somehow, saved me from it,
Yeah.
and redeemed my life, and now there's gonna be people teenage years, you're, like, kind of in the throes of, like, huge emotions, and you don't really know how to handle them, and there's gonna be some things that you feel like you can't talk to your parents about, but you still need a safe space and a trusted adult that loves the Lord and loves you and wants
Mhm.
you to walk with Him."
Yeah. I'm curious, like, you go through all of this when you're growing up, you get saved. Um, what was your view of God at the time? Like, what did you think about him? Because like, from my perspective, I think I might have a few questions of like,
Yeah.
why did I have to go through that? Where were you this whole time? Was that ever a thought?
I don't feel like that was a thought. I think the main thing that I struggled with was, like, when you're a kid, your formative years, your main, like, source of love, protection, basically your life source is your parents.
Yeah.
And so if that life source is purposefully harming you, withholding food or sleep or safety from you, um, you don't develop that view of your parents. Like, in my head, I was like, "Oh, this is normal." Like, I didn't have anything to compare it to.
Mhm.
That was my parents, you know? And so I shouldn't say parents, my biological mother and her
Mhm.
boyfriend. Um, and so I did struggle because it can go one of 2 ways. Either you're like, "Oh, my biological parents didn't love me, but the creator of the universe does." Like, you can just accept it immediately because 'cause you're so hungry for, like, love and acceptance. Or, on the flip side, it can be like, if my own parents didn't love me, why would the God of the universe care about me? And so I
Yeah.
would switch between those a lot, like, especially in my early faith of, like, I am not deserving or worthy of love, and, like,
Wow.
it's not something I ever received. What it was, like, unfamiliar. I wouldn't say ever. Like, my parents who adopted me loved me very well. But, like, your formative years growing up, this
Yeah.
is what you have to compare to. It was very tough. But I don't think I ever struggled with, like, why did God allow these things to happen to me? For some reason, I've always had a very good grasp on the problem of evil. Like,
Mm.
I don't know why. I think Maddie, when she explained the gospel to me, like, put a very heavy emphasis on, like, you're a sinner. Like, sin is the cause of all the evil in the world. Like, that is, there's no evil apart from it.
Mm.
And so I don't feel like I ever really struggled with that. I definitely have studied it and, like, tried to understand it more, but, like, I never was like, "Oh, why would God allow my parents to hate me?" You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. The problem of evil is very interesting to me.
Yeah.
It's still one of the most debated topics in theology and like in apologetics. Like, there's jokes about going to school for like philosophy of religion, and you're like, great, like, here's the 16th week on the problem of evil, time to
Yeah.
keep going with it. The approach that I've been taking recently, like in regards to the problem of evil, and because I had a whole like debate that I did about it, um, is I don't think we acknowledge enough that God has a plan to defeat evil
Mm.
and a purpose in defeating evil. And one of the ways that God defeats evil is by redeeming the worst experiences of our lives
Yeah.
into his overall bigger plan. To the point where somebody could look back on their life and all of and not wish away all the bad things that happened to them. They would say, that was awful and it was horrendous, and I hated going through it. But at the end of the day, I've seen how God's redeemed that, and it's actually made a more beautiful picture of my life as a whole.
Yeah.
And it's like there's actually goods that come from us confronting evil. And I think from the very beginning, when God made Adam and Eve priests and told them to kind of manage and take care and protect the garden, he was setting them up to confront, the serpent, who was,
Yeah.
it was their duty to be the priests of the garden and to tell the serpent to get lost, and to remind him of the, commands of God, or however they wanted to handle it,
Yeah.
not to be succumbed by it. But I think God has made us into people that are not static, like we grow, and even like the ugliest parts of our lives can be redeemed if we let God in,
Yeah.
So,
I
what do you
definitely
think about
agree.
that?
Yeah, I feel like that's probably been my perspective. I feel like I've said that a lot, actually, of, I wouldn't change what happened to me because it's going to allow me to help someone else. Even before I was a Christian, I felt like that was my like idea and my thinking.
Praise
And
God.
so that's probably why it was an easy jump for me to be like, oh, there's an even greater purpose of like me being okay with getting beat. Does that make sense? Like
That's the one we're going with. Oh my gosh, I was like, in my mind, I'm like, this is gonna make a great Instagram clip. Just a lot of things that made me okay with getting beat. It's just sorry.
I wish I could remember how I worded that. I would start over.
That's awesome. That's so funny.
But yeah, no, anyways. God's redemption being like an even bigger force in that story. I mean, it just makes it even even easier burden to carry.
Yeah, absolutely. Paul says that I count all things to be lost in the view of the surpassing value of knowing Christ Jesus my Lord, for whom I have suffered the loss of all things, and I count them rubbish, so that I might gain Christ, and may be found in him, not having righteousness of my own derived from the law, but that which is through faith in Christ, the righteousness which comes from God on the basis of faith, that I might know him and the power of his resurrection, and the fellowship of his sufferings, in order that I might attain resurrection from the dead. We see a lot in the New Testament where sufferings is used to develop character in us, and it's used to make us more Christ-like. And the disciples had their fair share of suffering, and Jesus himself did. And I think there can be things that happen in our lives that make us think, well, if God's not stepping in, he must be indifferent to suffering. He must not really care. But when we open up the life of Jesus, we can't say he was indifferent to suffering. He took on more suffering than I'll ever have to in my life, So I'm thankful that we serve. I think that is one of the things that makes Christianity unique. I don't know. I haven't studied all the world religions.
Yeah, I
I mean,
think
do
I'd
you know? You
agree.
probably know. Like, are there other religions where the deity himself took on sufferings of the people like that?
I'm hesitant to just be like, no, because I haven't studied them all, but I haven't heard of them. Typically, I feel like the deity is high and removed from everything.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's definitely not ever been one that like took on flesh and fully became man and experienced all of the sin of the world at one time at the moment before death. I think that's unique for sure.
He's one of one.
One of one.
Last thing I want to talk to you about is the next generation, because you are a youth leader, and I think you're someone, I've always said, who has a good pulse on the next generation, and you can kind of see where they're at and understand where they're coming from and relate. And what gives you hope for the next generation? What is something that, also my other question is, what is something that you think is like a unique challenge that they're facing?
One of the things that gives me the most hope for the next generation is seeing how much they want to be in the house of God. Like, I don't know. I feel like when I think of teenagers, I usually think of like, oh, I have to go to church again. I have to go to school. I have to go to work. They don't really want to. They want to be at home, or hanging out with their friends. And so, seeing students drive themselves here every week, like sometimes I'm just thinking about it, and I'm like, every week this, I don't want to mention names, but like this student is here every week and they drive themselves.
Mhm.
And like, I don't think anyone's telling them to go to church. Like they want to be at youth group. And I don't know, some of our students have their little prayer text group. When I learned about that, I almost cried. I'm like, that is the sweetest thing ever. Or just like encouraging, like watching them pray for each other, watching them worship. I've said this so many times, like when we go to those youth retreats and youth camps and stuff, and you're in a room with like 2,000 plus teenagers
Mhm.
and they're all lifting their voice to the Lord, it is the most like one of the most life-changing things I've ever experienced. Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
just laying down themselves and any self-consciousness that is like a rite of passage as a teenager, and you're just lifting your hands and being undignified before God. That's just really, really encouraging, and it definitely gives me a lot of hope for them.
Yeah. I think young people are being activated a lot right now
Yeah.
through social media, because it's like it's a there's pros and cons. It's sorry guys. I think there's a lot of harm that comes from being on social media, especially
Yeah.
overconsumption and everything. But also, it's like, man, I'm seeing kids just preach the gospel like to all their followers, and like I see
Yes.
people just sharing I got baptized or my friend got baptized and all this stuff like that, and it's like this is where they are, and they're preaching the gospel where they are,
We
you
have
know.
one of our students that like will read the Bible, like he'll just make reels and he'll be like, "This is what we're reading today," and he'll just read it and post it for the World
Nice.
Wide Web to see. I'm like,
So
yeah,
stinking
you go,
cool.
you go.
Yeah, we've got people right down the street at Andrew High School getting baptized outside of their school, and
Yeah,
um
the see you at the pole. We
yep,
see huge turnouts for that.
it's an exciting time. It's really cool. If you want to hang out with Randy and I every Thursday, come find me after service. No, okay. All right. Well, we covered a lot of ground here.
We did.
This was a good time. Ask me what time it is.
What time is it? Thank you.
And with that,
We'll see you next
this
time.
is my birthday gift. You know
Yeah.
what this is for?
Telling the time?
If you're blind.
When I was a kid, my dad told me that the little bumps on the side of the road were braille for blind drivers.
5 more miles. Like what is it?
I think I believed him for like 3 weeks.
Braille for blind drivers.
I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
That's actually pretty smart. I shouldn't laugh at that. It's not. They got their hand on the ground.
No, for like
It's
the
like-
wheels.
Yeah, but what is it? Morse code?
No, like it's so they know that they're like getting off the road.
One time I was driving down the subdivision, and there was these kids playing in the street, and they weren't moving, and I was like, these kids are so dumb. And then all of them were running like, oh, they see a car, they all leave. One kid's just still playing on the ground in the middle of the street. I'm like, come on. I honk my horn at him. He doesn't move. His friend goes and grabs him and everything. Like, kids are so annoying, you know. And then I'm leaving, and it
Bro.
says deaf child. Oh, and the sign. Anyway, all right. Any last words? Any shout outs?
No. Go read my article.
Oh yeah. What's your article?
I think they changed the name of it. I don't like the way they changed it. Let me try to remember what they called it. I called it Sanctity because it was about the sanctity of human life.
Nice.
And then I sent it into Christianity Today, and they're like, oh yeah, they called it, I had a horrible childhood, but I'm glad I exist. And I was like, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's true. But anyway, go check it out on CT Mag. Go read my Substack. Shameless self-plug.
How do they find your Substack?
It's called The Quiet Rebellion on Substack. I'll come right up. Just search it.
Cool. All right. You know where to find her. Thank you, everybody, for watching the Stone Church podcast. Give us a follow and stay up to date with all the people that we have on the show. We're going to hear testimonies, stories of what God's doing. and we'll try to keep it interesting. But yeah, thank you for joining us. Hope you have a wonderful day. God bless.